Baruch Hashem, we are at the conclusion of our 8-week series. Before we begin, here's an important announcement. Many of you have been asking for information about other classes. The good news is that we, Baruch Hashem, do have other classes. If you benefited from this course, you'll benefit even more when you participate in a live group discussion about these topics. As of this recording, the live groups are limited, but Be'ezras Hashem, in the spring of this year, Tafshin Ayin Tes, there will be more in-person learning opportunities in more locations throughout the tri-state area. To bring this program to your location, or for more information or to register, call 718-576-0338. That's 718-576-0338. I'd like to dedicate today's learning again. May it be as chus for refuah shlema, complete strength, for my father, Rabbi Aaron Yaakov ben Bunya, and for my mother, Rachel Bas Yehudis, to lange gesunte freiliche Jahren together. Last week, we talked about the energized living cycle, the space, the mindset, the set of rules, where Hashem is completely real and where we could experience all the calm, secure dignity, strength, joy, and goodness that this brings. Today, Be'ezras Hashem, we're going to learn another tool that helps us stay in that cycle. Before we begin, let's take a look at an interesting quote, a curious quote from the Gemara. In Masechta Shabbos, Chazal compares getting stuck in anger to serving Avodah Zarah. Now, Avodah Zarah means idol worship. That's pretty extreme. It's the complete opposite of Avodah Hashem. Why is anger compared to Avodah Zarah? Those of you who have been with us from week 1 can probably already guess the answer. In Igeres HaKodesh Perek Chaf Hey, the Baal Tanya explains the comparison, and in short, here's the answer. Hashem is the only one in charge of the world. Nobody and nothing could exist or move an inch if Hashem is not, at this very moment, causing the existence and causing the movement. Anything that happens is powered only by Hashem. So Avodas Hashem is when we recognize that. And what's anger? Anger is the emotion we feel when we think that someone is responsible for our discomfort, our pain, our loss, or our brokenness. When we hold on to anger or resentment, what we're essentially saying is, Hashem is not the only one in charge of the world. Because I'm not angry at Hashem right now, I'm angry at this person. This person also causes things to happen. And that's Avodah Zarah. That's a rejection of Hashem's exclusive power. That's a service. That's attributing value, attributing power where it is Zara. It's strange. It's other than where it belongs. Throughout this series, we've talked about Hashem's truth and what it looks like to engage in our lives from the place of Hashem's truth. When we use the tools that we talked about in the series, we get a lot of goodness in our lives, right? We've talked about this. We get inner calm, we get security, dignity, courage. And these are immeasurably priceless gifts that we can give to ourselves and to the people in our lives. At the same time, while these are good gifts and there are real value in terms of Gashmias benefit, these tools and these ideas are bigger than just what we get in our practical, day-to-day, mundane, physical lives. These tools are about making a choice between being consistent with Hashem's emes or contradicting that emes. They're about serving Hashem or serving Avodah Zarah. In many areas of our life, there's a range of options and differences, and all the differences could be true. But when we're talking about Hashem's emes, there's no range of options. Either Hashem is emes or he's not, chas v'shalom. Hashem's emes means Ein Od Milvado. It means there's nothing other than him. There's no other power. It means that since everything exists only because of Hashem, nothing has an existence of its own. No thing, certainly no person, could exist outside of his will. This kind of truth is all or nothing. It has to be 100% true for it to be true. A 99% truth is 100% lie. Now, there are two sets of rules in this world, two ways of living. And at any given moment, we're in either one of these two mindsets. We're either recognizing Hashem's emes and affirming that emes in our action and in what we're thinking about in this minute, or we're not. Either we're giving all the power in our lives to Hashem, or we're not, because we're giving power to other people and to things. Either we're making our neshama our true identity, or we're not, because we're giving contradicting labels our true identity. Either we're moving forward, staying in the space of our own life's purpose, or we're not, because we're busy in other people's lives. And again, a short version of all of the above is either we're serving Hashem or we're serving Avodah Zarah. I know that sounds extreme, and I know that extreme language makes us feel uncomfortable, but it's still true. Attributing power to people and things is Avodah Zarah, because only Hashem is our power. And if you can tolerate the discomfort of this thought and look at it for what it is, it might just give you the clarity and courage you need to make the changes that you want to make in your life. Let's put this information on the side for a minute. We'll come back to it. In Chumash Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu is giving final advice to Bnei Yisrael. At one point, Moshe Rabbeinu talks about the goal of fulfilling the entire Torah, the goal of demonstrating Hashem's emes in every single one of our choices. And here's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. He says, you know what? That goal of demonstrating Hashem's emes in every single one of your choices, it's actually very near to you. It's not distant. It's not a far-fetched idea. It's completely possible for you to speak this way, to feel this way, and to do it. Let's say it in Moshe Rabbeinu's exact words as they are written in the Torah. It goes like this. Ki karev elecha hadavar ma'od, beficha uvelvavcha la'asosai. It's very close to you. Karev ma'od. It's extremely close to speak this way, to feel this way in your heart, to do it. Let's pause for a moment. To whom is Moshe Rabbeinu speaking here? The Torah is eternal. Moshe Rabbeinu isn't just talking to the people of the Midbar. He isn't just talking to the tzaddikim or the previous generations. Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to us, to you and me in our lives today. But wait a minute. Our experience has repeatedly proven to us, and the Torah itself acknowledges in other places, that this goal of absolute avodas Hashem requires strenuous avodah. So what path can we take that is fail-proof? So fail-proof that Moshe Rabbeinu can point to it and say, look, every single person can do this work and reach the goal. What is that path? The entire Sefer Tanya is dedicated to answering this question. In the cover page of the Tanya, which is very short, the Baal HaTanya writes that this Sefer, which he calls the Sefer Shel Beinanim, the book of the average person, is based on the pasuk Ki karev elecha hadavar ma'od. The entire Sefer HaTanya is to explain how it is karev ma'od. The big tool that the Baal HaTanya taught us, which we've spoken about before, thinking about the greatness of Hashem for chunks of time, 30 seconds, a minute, a few minutes, or longer, every time we immerse in our minds in thoughts about Hashem's greatness, Hashem's presence, Hashem's emes becomes more real to us. That's how we anchor ourselves in the reality where Hashem's truth is the order of the day. That's how it becomes karev to us. And of course, the more real Hashem is to us, the more real our own neshama is to us, that's how our inherent strength, courage, dignity, and love becomes accessible to us. That's how the Geula mindset becomes our day-to-day way of thinking. So that was one big tool. Today we're going to learn another tool that makes our goal not just karev, but karev ma'od, very close to us, very attainable. I like to call this tool activating our unstoppable courage and willingness. By nature, if we're not actively investing effort to stay connected to the truth we want to live by, we slip away from it. We slip away from the awareness of Hashem. We buy into the rules of Hashem's hiddenness. We'll feel confused and we'll start doubting the rules of Hashem's reality. And when that happens, or actually to prevent that from happening, there's something we could do. We could activate our unstoppable courage and willpower. And with that, we immediately jump back into the cycle of energized living. It puts us right back on track with the goodness we want to be inviting into our lives. What's our unstoppable courage and willpower? The Baal Tanya says that each of us has an inherent love for Hashem by virtue of being a Yid. When our inherent love for Hashem is activated, there's nothing in the world that will stop us from staying connected with Hashem. There's nothing that could get in our way. That part of us, that part of our neshama, gives us unstoppable courage and willpower to stay connected with Hashem. When it's activated within us, we have what it takes We have whatever it takes to stay connected with Hashem. We have all the strength and determination to stay away from any behavior that could disconnect us from Hashem. So it's great to know that we have this part of us. Now, how do we activate it? We don't. It naturally gets activated whenever we think that our connection with Hashem is being threatened. Remember, we talked about our automatic fight or flight response that gets activated whenever we are in physical danger and when we're experiencing discomfort? That fight or flight response is our animal self's automatic response, our natural self's automatic response to what it perceives as being dangerous. This courage and willpower is our neshama's automatic response to spiritual danger. As soon as we are in spiritual danger, a powerful surge of courage and willpower gets activated within us, and we're empowered to do whatever it takes to stay connected with Hashem and avoid disconnection. Here's one example of what this looks like. Ed Koch was the mayor of New York City for 3 terms. He was a Yid. Sadly, he was completely not Shomer Torah mitzvahs and very much the opposite. And yet, in his will, he wrote up the words that he wanted to be printed on his matzeva, on his tombstone. These are the words he wrote. He wrote his name, his term, the term that he was mayor, and then, my father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am a Jew. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Those are the proud Jewish words inscribed on his tombstone. The tombstone that, by the way, sits in a non-Jewish cemetery. Now, you may have heard those words before. They're the famous, beyond courageous last words of Daniel Pearl. Daniel Pearl was a completely secular Jewish journalist who was brutally murdered by Muslim terrorists. And just before they killed him, he said these words. He said, my father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am a Jew. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Ultimate courage in the face of death. The Baal Tanya says that in that moment of spiritual danger, in the moment when our connection with Hashem is being threatened, our neshama naturally activates this powerful, larger-than-life courage and willpower to do the right thing. And when that courage and willpower kicks in, we do incredibly courageous, awesome things that would be impossible to do on an ordinary day. Now, as you're listening to this, you may have 2 big questions. Number 1, if our unstoppable courage and willpower gets activated when our connection with Hashem is being threatened, why is it not consistent? What about all the people who didn't display such courage when their Yiddishkeit was threatened? Why didn't they have a sudden burst of courage and willpower to stay connected with Hashem? And if it's activated when we're in spiritual danger, why didn't it get activated the first time Ed Koch did an Avera? For that matter, why doesn't it get activated and give us the courage to, let's say, stop speaking Lashon Hara or not wear something that's not perfectly tznius? Why doesn't it automatically bring us back to the table if we forget to bench? So that's question number 1. Why doesn't our courage and willpower get activated in a consistent way? And question number 2 is, how is this incredible inner strength helpful to us in a day-to-day basis? Baruch Hashem, we live in a time and in places where nobody is threatening to kill us for being Yidden. So how can we activate that unstoppable courage and willpower without being in danger? There's one answer to both of these questions, and it's not my answer. I'm going to use my own words and understanding to share this, but it's from the Baal Tanya. Before we get to the answer, imagine this. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see a little toddler running towards what we call the gutter, the street. What would you do? You would run and grab their hand and hold them back from doing that, right? You'd explain to him or her that it's dangerous to run into the street in whatever language they understand. Now here's something to think about for a minute. When the little 2-year-old boy is running into the street, is he afraid? Is he worried about getting hit by a car? No, he's not afraid. He's just running, he's playing, he's having a good time. There's no fear in his heart. And that's exactly the problem. Fear of the traffic, like the fear of fire or anything that's potentially dangerous, is what protects us from those dangers. But fear is an emotion that develops with intellectual maturity. A little 2-year-old doesn't yet understand that walking into the street is dangerous, and since he doesn't understand that it's dangerous, he doesn't feel afraid. Whenever we're in danger, we get extra adrenaline rushing through our systems. This extra adrenaline gives us the physical strength we need to save ourselves. The child running into the street is in a very dangerous situation, but his extra adrenaline is not at all pumping. Why? Because he doesn't know that he's in danger. As soon as our mind decides, hey, we're in danger, that decision, that awareness itself naturally turns on an alarm that wakes up, that shakes up our entire system and gets it to respond to the danger. But if we don't realize that we're in danger, our internal system of danger protection will be sleeping. That's why when the 2-year-old boy is chas v'shalom running into the street, even though he's in serious danger, his life is at risk, his fight or flight response is sound asleep. His mind will not be sounding an alarm to wake it up. Now, crossing the street safely is a good mashal for all the decisions that we make in our lives. Every time we make the decision to think, say, or do something, we are moving from this side of the street to that side. We're crossing the street from wherever we are now to wherever that behavior will take us. Sometimes we make our decisions subconsciously and automatically in a split second, while other times we think about it for a while. We consider our options before we make the decision, but it's always a decision. Our minds don't think about something unless we've given it the green light to think about it. Words don't come out of our mouth without our decision to let them loose. Again, that decision could happen in a split second, but it's a decision. And our hands don't move. Our feet don't move. Our healthy body doesn't move unless we have made the decision to move. Go or don't go. Wait or don't wait. Say it or don't say it. Think about this or think about something else. We make decisions all day. Each time we make a decision, it's like we're crossing a street. None of us are like the 2-year-old. We're not the people, certainly the people who are listening to this course, we are not people who run into the street without looking. We pause, we think, we deliberate, we look this way, we look that way. Do we make mistakes? Of course we do, but we try our best. Now let's go back to our questions about our neshama's natural response to spiritual danger. When we're in danger of being disconnected from Hashem, our neshama's unstoppable courage and willpower gets activated, and that courage and willpower gives us what it takes to stay connected and to avoid disconnection, right? Now we ask, how is it that we could be in great spiritual danger and yet our natural response to that danger doesn't get activated? The reason why our response to spiritual danger doesn't get activated is because spiritually, we're like the toddler who's running into the street. He's in danger, but his internal system that responds to danger is not working. Why? Because he has no idea that he's in danger. The danger didn't register in his mind. Therefore, the alarm didn't wake up his heart. And it's the same with us. Our life depends on Hashem. We want to be connected with Hashem, and there's a powerful surge of courage and willingness that gets activated to help us stay connected with Hashem. But what happens? Many times we make decisions, we engage in behaviors without realizing the spiritual danger of those behaviors. We run into the street of worshiping comfort and pleasure. We run towards giving power to people. We run into resentments, anger, and self-pity, and we stay there without realizing that our behavior is literally denying Hashem's emes, and therefore pulling us away, disconnecting us from Hashem. We don't look at resentments as avodah zarah. We look at it as normal. If someone would chas v'shalom threaten to kill us, unless we bow down to an idol, we would never bow down to that idol. Chas v'shalom, may we never be in that position, but that's how we would react. Our inherent love for Hashem would activate our unstoppable courage and willingness, and we'd be willing to tolerate even excruciating pain just for the sake of staying connected with Hashem. And tar Yiddishkeit, ich bin doch a Yid. But when we don't realize that our behavior is a serious spiritual threat, our extra courage and willingness could stay fast asleep. So in the examples that we shared, Ed Koch could do Averis his whole life and not do any mitzvahs. And his profound courage and willpower doesn't get activated because he's unaware of the spiritual danger. He thought he could do whatever he wants and still identify fiercely as a Yid. Daniel Pearl's deep, profound courage and willingness could also stay asleep. But the second he felt that he was in spiritual danger, which also happened to be physical danger, but the second it registered in his mind that he's in danger of losing his identity as a Yid, his system woke up and he acted with unbelievable, profound courage and dignity. And what about us? How can we activate our unstoppable courage and willingness to stay connected with Hashem, even without being in danger? May we never be in danger. So let's remember that our neshama's natural response to spiritual danger is to unleash a surge of incredible courage and willingness. That's the natural response. That's what we do. We don't have to do anything to activate it. We just have to stop putting it to sleep. We have to stop being like the toddler who thinks that running into the street is absolutely safe. We have to stop telling ourselves that resentment, worthlessness, and helplessness are spiritually safe behaviors. Here's what puts it to sleep, okay? Society has created a box. Each of us bought that box. We got it for a gift and we kept it and we keep it in our minds. The box is our Yetzer Hara's favorite toy. Our Yetzer Hara is the master, the owner, the perpetuator, if there's such a word, of the box. What's this box about? Let's take a closer look. There's a label on the box. It says, officially it's wrong, but really it's only human and it's unavoidable. That's our box. It's a big box. Again, it says, officially it's wrong, officially it's avodah zarah, but really it's only human and it's unavoidable. Now we put a lot of stuff in that box. We put resentments in there. We put anger in there. We put self-pity in there. We put gossip in there, saying lies, saying mean words. We throw in our jealousy, our skirts that don't cover our knees, our shaitels that are too long. We put in our laziness. We put any negative habit in there. Why do we put stuff in there? Because let's face it, we're very strongly impacted by the world around us. If you come to a place where everyone wears thick purple glasses with neon lights, the first day you get there, you think that everyone is strange. The second day you get there, it's a little less strange. But when you're there for a while, you start to think that thick purple glasses with neon lights are normal. And after a while, you start wearing glasses that are thicker and purpler. Even if you don't wear glasses with neon lights flashing on them, at least you stop seeing them as so strange. You start accepting them as part of life. Everyone wants to be balanced. Think of any style that came in and left, and at first you thought it was weird, but then you had it too. Think of the toys that come into style. At first we think they're the most oddest things, but then suddenly we're actually buying them for our kids, right? Purple glasses are like the rules and values of the world that doesn't know about Hashem. We're surrounded by those rules and values. So even though we believe with perfect faith that Hashem is true, we also think that it's acceptable to behave in a way that contradicts Hashem's truth. We tolerate the denial of Hashem's truth because it's so prevalent around us. And that tolerance, that acceptance, that understanding, that box, is what keeps our courage and willingness in a very deep, comfortable sleep. Because as long as our mind doesn't register a spiritual danger, our neshama will not unleash that unstoppable courage and willingness that it takes to do the right thing. What's the Baal HaTanya's advice for all of this? How can we activate our unstoppable courage and willingness and make it karev without being faced with physical danger, chas v'shalom? Very simple. Throw away the box that says, officially it's wrong, but really it's only human. As long as there's a place in our minds where behaviors that are wrong are not really wrong, we'll continue to do those behaviors. The minute we decide that a behavior is 100% wrong, our unstoppable courage will be unleashed and we'll be empowered to do what's right and not do what's wrong. That's the tool. It's very simple. Just call resentments, blame, guilt, and helplessness avodah zarah. Call it wrong. Let wrong be wrong. Do you know why it's uncomfortable to call resentments avodah zarah? Because none of us wants to serve avodah zarah. We don't want to see ourselves as people who serve avodah zarah. Calling resentment, guilt, helplessness avodah zarah means we can no longer be comfortable with those behaviors. And we want to be comfortable with those behaviors because we want to be comfortable with ourselves. But is that comfort serving us? is actually putting our natural response to spiritual danger to sleep. When it comes to believing in Hashem, in truth, truth is truth. Truth is all or nothing. Giving credence, even 5% credence, even 0.1% credence to any idea that contradicts Hashem's truth is exactly the same thing as bowing down to a stone. If someone is bowing down to a stone, it doesn't matter if it's a big stone or a little stone. We just don't bow down to stones. Never. Not in any way. We bow only to Hashem. Thousands of people have listened to this series over the years. For some people, this series is beautiful inspiration and nothing more than inspiration. Inspiration and chizuk makes us feel better in the moment, but it doesn't make our lives better in the bigger picture. Other people, many other people, Baruch Hashem, have used these ideas to actually make their lives better, immeasurably better. What motivated these people to make their lives better? What gave them the tremendous courage and willpower to actually change, to cross the street safely? It's because they asked themselves one question: which side of reality do I want to live on? Do I want to live in the reality where Hashem is the one and only power in the world and in my personal life? Or will I live in the other reality? In any given moment, we can only be in one of these two spaces. Either Hashem is true or chas v'shalom, He's not. There's no such thing as yes, but. Because if Hashem is true, then He's limitless. There's no limitations on Him. He is true, and He is true, and there are no ifs or buts, no limitations whatsoever. I'd like to conclude with a story. Rabbi Dr. Avram Twersky was helpful in getting this program started. I met with him a few times during the first 2 years of its development. And in one of those meetings, I told him about the challenge I was experiencing in getting the program off the ground. And I said, it seems to me that people are unable to accept the idea that huge change is possible, that we can actually move ourselves from our personal gullus to a personal geula. Rabbi Twersky nodded and he said, of course. Well, delusion is more powerful than truth. I was intrigued. More powerful even than truth? Rabbi Twersky continued and he said, I'll tell you how I showed this to a team of a few hundred doctors. And this is what he said. He said, I was teaching the doctors at my hospital about the medical uses of hypnosis. Carol, a secretary, agreed to be the subject for a demonstration. After establishing the hypnotic trance, Carol was able to do things like eat a lemon and call it the sweetest fruit she'd ever tasted. At one point, I placed a chair on Carol's right side and told her that her friend Betty was sitting there. Betty was a nurse at the same hospital. Carol began chatting with the empty chair. Hi, Betty. It's great to be with you today. I looked out into the audience where the doctors and nurses were watching carefully, taking in every detail. The room was completely quiet except for Carol talking to the chair about her plans for the evening. Suddenly, I noticed Carol's friend Betty, the real Betty, in the crowd. I motioned to her, asking her to come to the front of the room. When she came, I told her to sit on Carol's left side. And then I said, Carol, please turn around. When Carol turned, her eyes flew wide open and she almost jumped out of her seat. She was shocked to see Betty sitting there. She'd just been speaking with Betty, who was sitting on the other side of her, on her right side. I'll tell you the truth, Carol, I said. I played a little trick on you. Betty is only sitting in one of the chairs. The other chair is empty. Please tell me, which chair has the real Betty? Without hesitation, Carol pointed to the empty chair on her right side. Rabbi Dr. Twersky concluded this story and he said, there are so many more stories like this. As a doctor, I could never argue with delusion. If a person believes that they're the czar, I could never convince them that they're not. So too, if a person believes that their problems are caused by other people, if a person believes that they can't be happy until their circumstances change, you cannot convince them otherwise. Delusion is more powerful than logic. Of course, Carol pointed to the empty chair. Delusion does that to a person. We talked about it some more before I left, and the long drive home gave me plenty of time to think about what Rabbi Dr. Twersky had told me. I could totally relate to Carol. When we're hypnotized by the mindset of the world around us, we too do all kinds of strange things. As individuals, we would never want to disconnect ourselves from Hashem. We're Yidden. We're proud Yidden. We work hard for our Yiddishkeit. We care. We schwitz. We keep the halachas as best as we can. We sincerely try our best. And yet, in many ways, we're hypnotized by the rules that deny Hashem's emes. When it comes to making choices in our lives, statistically, we're like Carol. We make choices from the place of our hypnosis. We don't first wake ourselves up and shake ourselves out of that hypnosis. Now, in the place of that hypnosis, we're irrational. We think it's acceptable to have a box that's labeled, it's avodah zara, but it's only human and therefore it's unavoidable. We laugh at the box, but we all have it unless we're actively deleting it from our minds. And of course, since we have such a box, we fill it up with behaviors that contradict the truth of who we are and what really matters to us. Today, we can change the statistics. Every moment we're being presented with two chairs, two realities. There's one space in which Hashem is real. In that space where Hashem is real, his reality makes a practical difference to everything in our lives. And then there's another space in which other powers are real. In that space, there's room for self-pity, resentment, victimhood, feeling limited by our past and by other people and being stuck. The real truth is only sitting in one of them. The other one is completely empty. Its truth is only a veneer. Its substance is a mirage, an illusion. Which one is the real truth? Which one will be your personal truth? If we have courage and willingness, we'll be empowered to choose Hashem. We'll be empowered to let go of disempowering labels, let go of resentments, to give all the power to Hashem, to be dependent only on Hashem, and to let our beautiful self shine forth, and to come to our lives and our relationships like the rich person we are. Where can we get the courage and willingness to choose Hashem and all of that goodness? Ki karev elecha hadavar ma'od. It's very close to each of us. We have it in our own selves. We just have to clear away what's keeping that part of us asleep. We have to stop giving credence to behaviors that deny or contradict Hashem's absolute emes. When we get rid of that box, the same courage and willingness that carried our parents and grandparents through the immense hardships, pain, and torture of their times will carry us through the very real discomfort and challenges and pain of our times. We'll be empowered to choose Hashem, to jump in and stay in the energized living cycle, the space of our personal geula. And every time we experience the strength of Ki karev on a personal level, we bring the global geula closer. May we indeed be zeicha to that geula here and now. B'karev ma'od.